Hey, hey, brothers and sisters. I knew I've took a little too long to get this out. Forgive me. And having said that, this is going to be one of the better reviews that we've done. I like to think I get better each time I do this. So we're going to go all the way back into the Exodus of chapter 20, roughly. Let me see. There we go. Chapter 18, actually. Excuse me. And this is where my personal opinion, after the initial murmuring against Moses, and twice they murmured, okay? Twice. Once for food and then once for drink. You see what I'm saying? The Most High God couldn't dig it because, let me just go ahead and just play it out to y'all like this. This is just real life. Black people are stuck in America right now. We somehow get out. The brother that helps us get out, once he helps us get up out of here, we tell him, oh man, back in America, we had this, this, and this. It's pretty much what happened. While also, at the other side of their neck, they're going to claim that they needed to be saved, though. And that they were being oppressed by the Egyptians, which is why their cry was loud. Right. So somehow you think your oppressors are going to treat you better than me? I'm trying to bring you into your own. See? It's that sort of mentality. It's that sort of groupthink that held everyone back then. But let me just show you how the Most High God straightened it all out. See, he sent this man named Jotham, right? And Jotham tells Moses to do something that totally, it is the number one reason why the people wanted a king. Power and Name spoke on it in the comment section. See, that's a very intelligent brother. You know what I'm saying? From way over yonder. You know, that's my bro. That's my bro. And bro was just speaking to the level of when I had first did the when I had spoke about it at the first review coming out of and then coming out of Egypt and into the wilderness. We were speaking on these things, and I was just talking about how that right there was like it's major. It is the single-handed biggest event that happens during the Exodus that requires no bloodshed. Did you hear me? It's the single biggest event during the Exodus that requires no bloodshed. Because this dooms the people. Right. Jotham doomed. Jotham did it with trying to actually help Moses. But the Most High God knew there's no way. Nobody's going to convince me the Most High did not know that was going to ruin the people. And that was a death knell. I know he knew that. So this is why he told Moses to do what he did, which was to separate the powers. The issue that I had with this is that what if the person who's over the tens, those tens are all the elders? And so now technically you have influence, you have charge over the people who have the most influence. Right. So how do you dictate who's going to watch them? You have to keep social constructs and just the way that we interact as people in mind, and why this is so important. A person who could foreseeably be in charge of those who have influence over the thousands is huge, and it creates corruption. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now, what I thought was even more kind of like a stab in the heart, because we know how the story ends, is the Most High God is like, I'm not going to kick the people out of the land, right? Because I don't want the wild animals to turn against you. In my mind, I'm like, that would have been better. That would have been far better for the people. But then there's a chance that they come into their own, on their own, thinking that they didn't need the Most High God. That's why he didn't do that. See, he left those there, the stumbling blocks, right? I'm not going to get too far ahead in the story, but the cankerworm, right on, and all the other worms and the things that it says pretty much that devour the inheritage and the inheritages of the people, right? This is how this comes about. So the destruction of the Israelites is set in stone at the beginning of the Exodus. Because they murmured against Moses, and in turn they sinned against the Most High. It's deep, isn't it? You see how this whole thing is starting to spin? Okay, so when we move forward, right? And then we have this understanding. Now let's just go back for a moment. We're not going to read anything. We're just going to go into the story as well as we can in our minds, and we'll read what we have to. Listen to this. Does anybody other than Demetrius think that it was awkward that Moses was like, we need to take everything we own, all of our sheep, all of our goats, all of our rams, all of our oxen, donkeys, all of it. Oh, by the way, Egyptians, can we get some silver, gold, and brass, and all the good clothes you got? Now people are like, what the hell is this dude talking about? Y'all don't remember when they were building the tabernacle of witness? We're going to skip forward to that real quick. Where do you think they got the materials to do that from? Right. You see what I'm saying? It's little things like that. And I know people are like, that's obvious. But if it's so obvious, then why don't people know? Right. Before you say something out the side of your neck that makes you seem like you're totally out of touch. See, when I say things are obvious, it's because I'm going in chronological order of everything I've ever told everybody. And keeping in mind that if they've been messing with your boy, they've been rocking with your boy, and they've taken me some kind of serious, some of the things I've said, when I say other things, have to come into play. It's a must. So when we're talking about the gold and the silver and the energy that they're able to create, okay, we're talking about the table that's made out of pure gold. We're talking about the staves that are covered in gold. The ark itself that's made out of incorruptible wood and covered in gold. Okay? And all the gold articles. These are things that create and hold and house energy. The silver brackets. The brazen hoops. The golden hoops and rings. All these things house and hold energy. If not, why not just hold it together with twine? The Most High God is like, my house is going to be opulent. It's a traveling tabernacle. It can be broke down. Do you guys understand the scope and the size of this thing? It's huge. It's huge. They can fit thousands and thousands of people in there. But the thing is, though, you're not trying to fit in proselytes. You're not trying to fit in strangers. You're not trying to fit in the sojourners. No, you're not. You're trying to fit the children of Israel in there. Because that's who this message is for. See, a lot of people forget that during this time, there were people who were not Israelites who were here with them during this entire struggle. Yes, they were. They experienced all these things. They seen the glory of the Most High God themselves. Isn't that something to think about? Talking about the water standing on one side and on the other, and then crushing the Egyptians. Talking about eating of the manna, okay? The quails coming in, the drinking water out of the rock, the stranger, the sojourner, from the hewer of wood to the drawer of water were there, and they did that. And that's those little things right there that I'm trying to get my brothers and sisters to appreciate, that right now among us today, there is still the hewer of wood and the drawer of water. Can you dig that? The stranger that is within thee that gets higher above thee. Oh no, let me repeat myself. The people that were with us back then are with us right now. They looked similar back then. They look similar now. And they're able to get places in the society that we cannot get. Hallelujah to the Most High God for making that distinguishment between us and they. Having said that, when we read the Exodus and we try to understand the Exodus, we must come into a level of complete humility and seeing that Moses himself did not know what was going on. He was being taught how to literally birth a nation. Now that is something for people to really put into their minds, to perceive. Be mindful. Moses at this point has started to read the ordinances of the people and to make it known. One of the best parts of the entire Exodus I'm going to read right now because it's very crucial. Chapter 21, verse 1. And these are the ordinances which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve thee, and in the 7th year he shall go free for nothing. Did you hear that? So this is where they get a 7-year contract from in the first place. Okay? This is also based on the 6 days of creation. Come on, let's just go ahead and keep it pushing. If he should, verse 3, if he should have come in alone, he shall also go forth alone. And if his wife should have gone in together with him, his wife also shall go out. So saying that you don't get to keep his chick, you don't get to do none of that if he brought his wife in with him. So once again, this is where that concept is, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to take what you didn't come with. Right. 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 That's right. So this is trying to correct how they even became a nation in the first place. There will never be another instance as to how we became a nation of people to take place. Thank you. Because how do you think Jacob did it? He did exactly that. What Jacob did was wrong, y'all. I don't know if people can understand. Ethically and morally, it was wrong. It was so wrong. It was beyond wrong. You could almost argue it was wicked and evil, but because you're doing it for the Most High God's sake and He ordains it, it's not now, right? But if you do that in any other instance, come on now, they have an ordinance to correct that sort of behavior. Because that would normally cost you your life or get your head busted. Trust me. Running off with the man's grandchildren, with the children at whom he calls his sons, who, as is written in the scripture, they are considered the sons of one Laban or Laban. Come on, stop playing with me. Just keep reading. Moreover, if his master give him a wife, and she born him sons or daughters, the wife and the children shall be his master's, and he shall go forth alone. So stop right there. They're saying, like, look, even if you go and you have children, you still leave by yourself in the end. And if the servant should answer and say, I love my master and wife and children. Look at the order. First the master, then his wife, then his children. I will not go away free. His master shall bring him to the judgment seat of God, and then he shall bring him to the doorpost. And his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Stop right there. So this is where piercing your ear comes from on the left side. It's not just to say that you aren't batting for the other team and that you're not of the sort, as the scripture would say. Sort, S-O-R-T. But it's also an indication that your servitude to a master is forever. And you have chosen your master. Come on, say that. Now this is a way the Most High God also just pointing out that, like, look, like, the Most High God is not against authority. And He clearly is not against what you would call slavery or indentured, somebody working for you. That's just part of life. Right. They want you to think that slavery is so bad, but people naturally gravitate to leaders, and they're going to do what people tell them to do. Are they not the servant in that instance? Right. It's like, at some level, we have to admit that people want to be led. And it's okay to lead people. And it's okay to follow. If you want to follow and if they want to lead. That's how that is. And this is an arrangement between two people where one person is the leader and the other person is the follower. And it's giving an understanding where in which, let's say after 7 years, you get your, you get your substance up, you get your abundance up, and you want to dip. He's like, well, look, bro, you don't get to take the chick and the kids with you. You get to stay. Right. Because you don't get to leave and act as if you made yourself rich. Right. Because Jacob didn't make himself rich. Jacob was terrified of his brother killing him. People need to put the story into context and understand and stop trying to, oh, Jacob is holier than thou. No, he's a dude who made decisions that are ordained by a power so high that to explain to us what it's doing there would be no sense of edification in that. Nobody wins at the end of that. It's just better to just know that the Most High knows what he's doing. Clearly he does. Clearly dirt grows things that you can eat. So I'm gonna rest I'll rest on his laurels and assume that he's got it. Having said that though, this next part is why I love this part. Come on. Verse 7. This speaks to how you're actually. This speaks to like how you do things, how you're supposed to treat your daughter, a woman in general, though. But just listen to this: if anyone shall sell his daughter as a domestic, so pretty much you're going to sell your daughter as a servant. She shall not depart as a maidservant. Stop me one moment. Excuse me. My alarm was going off on my phone. Okay. Where was I just at? And if anyone shall sell his daughter, verse 7, as a domestic, she shall not depart as the maidservant. As the maidservants depart. Stop right there. Listen. So it's like, look, dog, even if you sell your daughter to somebody, if they're about to get up out of here, you go get your daughter back. You don't just let your daughter just roll up out. Right. See, that's the type of... But this is the type of stuff people were doing. So when black people act holier than thou, I'm like, they've never read the scripture. Clearly. And you can't have it both ways. If the white man stole it and this is truly African history, then these Africans was all types of messed up. Right. But they're not called Africans. They're called Israelites. However, these black people still... No. Because I'm not black. I'm brown. These Afro people, though, okay? These Afro bearded people was what back then was acting up. And you think... I'm supposed to think that people now who are wicked at an all-time high, I'm supposed to be surprised? Once again, I'm reading this to you so that way y'all can understand the context. The ordinances are written obviously because people did things like this. Right. Let's just keep reading. Come on. And if she be not pleasing to her master, after she has betrothed herself to him, he shall let her go free. But he is not at liberty to sell her to a foreign nation, because he has trifled with her. Stop right there. So if you sell your daughter off as a domestic to somebody, then she gets married to the dude, then they stop messing around, and he has to let her go. He can't sell her to somebody else. Right on, trying to get rid of her, and you feel me? Right, trying to do some dirty, foul stuff. That's the kind of funky business these characters are obviously into back then. And y'all think I'm just going in on them for nothing. Yeah, and y'all think you can't relate this to today. That's the cold part. Because it's very relatable. And I'm not even going to go into the human instances and circumstances and situations where we could relate that right there to something. But this is just about how you... Right. If you've had dealings with this young lady, you're not selling her to nobody because you've trifled with her. Use your imagination. Verse 9. And if he should have betrothed her to his son, he shall do according to the right of daughters. Stop right there. So they're saying that if you sell her to a master, right, to a person, and the person who you sell her to, right, as a domestic, marries her off to her son, right? I mean, marries her off to his son. He has to treat her as a daughter now. You see what I'm saying? Boom. And if he take to himself, and if he take another to himself, he shall not deprive her of necessaries and her apparel and her companionship with him. Stop right there. So it's just like saying, like, and if he doesn't do, it's just speaking to all the different instances of things that could take place. And it's saying, like, look, and even if he doesn't do that, if you take another chick and you're already married to her, you still have to treat her like your wife. You still have to buy her apparels. You still have to give her provender. You still have to be with her like a man is with a woman. Right. Hold on. And if he will not do these three things to her, she shall go out free without money. Stop right there. So it's saying, like, she gets to leave for free. There's no I don't owe you a penalty. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not owed anything for me leaving. If you won't do right by me, I don't owe you nothing, bruh. You're not owed for me being here for this whole time. Cause, see, the dirty macking they was into, though. I'm trying to tell y'all, man. See, it's so cold, and this is an Exodus. This ain't 2020, right? But it's telling us about things that people still do to this day. Now we're just gonna skip forward. But the Avenger of Blood is covered next in this next part. And how you're supposed to treat a situation when people get into a physical confrontation. Really, it is the best. I mean, the Exodus, this part of the Exodus, chapter 19 coming into 20, or is it 20? 21, excuse me. It's easily one of the best chapters in the whole Exodus because it has so many different instances of just human things that we can see and understand what was it. Trying to understand the day in the life and trying to understand the mentality and the mindset of the peoples who were living back then. It becomes easier. Having said this, though, when we move forward, right, I want to read right here, verse 16 of chapter 22. And if anyone deceive a virgin that is not betrothed, so meaning that she's not married, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her for a wife to himself. Stop right there. So if she's already not married and you deceive her and she's virgin, so understand that she's a virgin and you deceived her and she's married, now we're talking about adultery. Now we're talking about people dying. You see how it has to distinguish this? Now listen to this right here though. And if her father positively refuses, like, no, I ain't going out like that, and will not consent to give her to him for a wife, he shall pay compensation to her father according to the amount of the dowry of virgins. So listen. And one spot it'll tell you 70 pieces of silver. Okay? Here it's telling you the dowry of virgins. Because you can't tell me what it's worth, bruh. That's my daughter, nigga. See, once again, people don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what it's like. Before I even had a son, I've always been protective of children. You know, but I'm way more protective now than I've been in the past. Just getting older and just understanding that the older I get, when these things happen to these young people and sometimes to the children, I'm like, I'm almost old enough to be some of these people's parents. You know, and in some cases I'm old enough to be their young parent. And it bothers it's bothersome, to hear about a 12 or a 13-year-old or something like that. And you're like, man, in a few years, bro, I'm going to be way more than old enough to be somebody like that's parent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you become more sensible to the life that you live. And I'm just trying to give that to y'all the best I can. I really am, because it's telling us right here that you value that I am not to place value on something like that for you. This is right here in the Exodus, though. And once again, for people to cry about misogyny and patriarchy and all these things, it's like the scripture has a clear way you're supposed to treat women. And you're not supposed to be slapping them up and all that, pimping them out, or any of that. Right. But the Most High God isn't righteous, and he's a misogynist and all this other stuff. It's just Give me a break. You know what I'm saying? It's written to protect the people who are meant to be protected. Look, does anybody not notice that as we get to like that, this, because we're almost to where we were at. Anybody not notice what when we was reading about them coming into the land, how the Most High is like, look, do you guys remember what I did for you? And do you not understand what I'm about to do for you? He's like, I'm about to make you guys famous. Famous. Nobody's going to want to mess with you. All you have to do is do what I'm asking you to do. And they couldn't even do that. And they wonder why I'd be going in to this day. They wonder why I get in on their helmets to this day. The traveling tabernacle of holiness. Oh, they could have just built this with just nothing, huh? They could have just imagined gold out of nowhere, silver out of nowhere, huh? They didn't just take that from the Egyptians for the Most High God, knowing that it was for this purpose. Stop it, y'all. Understand me. Understand that when we read it, the story is actually written in chronological order to the degree that it's meant to be understood a certain way. Even the wicked people who tried to change it, they could only change it so much. And when you got a brother like me on top of it, detective number one, it doesn't matter because we will connect the dots. I promise you. While whatever time is left, we're going to continue to read the scripture. We're going to continue to get better. I'm going to read this part right here to you guys. And I just want you guys to understand that this is where I get, this is what I understand. This is going to be in the next chapter going forward. This is chapter 28 of the Exodus, verse 1 going down. This is the last part that I'm going to read to you guys before I roll out. And do thou take to thyself both Aaron, thy brother, and his sons, even them of the children of Israel, so that Aaron and Nadab and Abiud and Eleazar and Ithamar, sons of Aaron, may minister to me. And thou shalt make holy apparel for Aaron, thy brother, for honor and glory. And speak thou to all those who are wise and understanding, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom and perception. And they shall make the holy apparel of Aaron for the sanctuary, in which the apparel he shall minister to me as a priest. Stop right there. Did y'all not hear that part? And speak thou to all those who are wise and understanding, whom I, the Most High, or you could just say the Messiah, have whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom and perception. So if you guys ever wonder why this dude gets it, I just read it to you. I didn't fill me with the spirit of wisdom and perception. The Most High did. And that's why I'm able to read to you and give to you what I have. The wisdom and perception he's given to you and the avenue he's given it to you in, that's for you. But this is for me. And I need you to just appreciate that, like I appreciate y'all time. Having said that, the tabernacle, the most interesting part about the tabernacle is not only the size of it, but the fact that it has an equally large area to cook on. And it has all these different things to cook with. But for some odd reason, sacrifice is not cooking. Anyhow, my people, I pray that you get it before it's too late. Having said that, spiritual gumbo.